Welcome to Kit Katastrophe. My name is Kit, and today we'll be taking a look at Transformers Siege Deluxe Class CROSSHAIRS. This figure came out in 2019 as part of Wave 5 of the Deluxe assortment, and as a redeco and retool of Transformers Siege Deluxe Class Ironhide. This figure, along with Siege Ratchet, was requested to be reviewed by Jason Star Prime. Siege CROSSHAIRS is a very curious case. Lately, the Generations toy line has been extremely slavish for the original Generation 1 incarnations of characters, especially for the more minor characters. CROSSHAIRS is about as minor as one can get in this toy line, and his original figure was something of an all-terrain vehicle. Suddenly, in the uber-slavish Siege line, CROSSHAIRS gets stuck being an Ironhide repaint. He's a minivan now, which is what I'm trying to say. While Ironhide looked like a rugged cargo truck and Ratchet a rugged emergency vehicle, CROSSHAIRS looks more like he's stuck dropping the kids off at soccer practice. He's the civilian flavor of the Ironhide mold, which is something no Target master should ever want to be. That aside, I can't say he looks bad. I thought he looked bad in the initial reveal renders, what with the red cockpit frame popping out of all this dark blue, but it's somewhat grown on me. While he might have looked more coherent with a blue cockpit, having it be red won't be the end of the world. Plus, it helps out in robot mode. CROSSHAIRS' color scheme is otherwise nice, made up entirely of dark blue and black. CROSSHAIRS lacks Ironhide's stripe, instead going for a white block of detailing just behind the forewheel. He shares Ironhide's silver stripe up top, but just below them are some new tampagraphs mimicking the Generation 1 figure's sticker detailing in the same crisp and sharp detail that I enjoyed so much about Titan's Return Misfire. While CROSSHAIR's color scheme in this mode may be pretty boring, there's enough here for some visual interest. CROSSHAIR's transformation is exactly like that of his predecessors Ironhide and Ratchet. However, Ironhide had some quality control issues with his joints, namely the panels on the outside of his legs would fall off easily, and Ratchet had some unfortunately cheap-feeling plastic which to my surprise seemed to be a problem not shared with others' copies, also to my dismay. On the bright side, I can safely say that CROSSHAIRS wins out in this trio as my copy has no problems whatsoever, and I've transformed him a lot. Even though I've had Ironhide and Ratchet for far longer, CROSSHAIRS seems to be the one I pick up and mess with the most, which earns him some points in his favor. Now, robot mode is where this mold choice begins to make a lick of sense. Generation 1 CROSSHAIRS was a fairly blocky build, even if those blocks were smoothed out a touch. Assuming that making a new mold form was completely out of the question, altering him somewhat to fit the vignette mold seems to make the most sense. The designers at Hasbro were able to make the color scheme fairly accurate to the source material, though I'd be interested to see what this figure would look like with blue forearms instead of black ones. Even though Ratchet is the only version of this mold to make any major changes to Ironhide's tooling, I feel CROSSHAIRS does a really good job of changing the overall feel and climate of this design. He really has a vibe all his own, which is something the original promotional images couldn't convey. This is due in part to CROSSHAIRS' single piece of new tooling. His head sculpt, which is based on an early design concept which was used in Season 4 of the Generation 1 cartoon, rather than the final head design used on the original toy and in the Japanese follow-up anime The Headmasters. CROSSHAIRS comes with just one single accessory, the W35LR Doomblast Forged Launcher, identical to the one that came with Ironhide in every way but coloration. While Ironhide's weapon was a dull cement gray with some silver paint wash and a red rim on the danger end, CROSSHAIRS is a nice deep black with a fully coated red delivery system with silver on the... well, it's not exactly a barrel, but it'll do. Transformers Siege has failed to provide fans with a new version of CROSSHAIRS' Target Master partner Pinpointer, even though both of Spinisters got new figures in Siege, though the Battlemaster Trenchfoot, who came in the Amazon-exclusive Autobot Alpha Strike Counterforce, could make a nice substitute, considering his colors are similar and, well, Trenchfoot wasn't a character at all before Siege. Well, for these articulation segments, you can call me the Activision Transformers games because I am running out of steam. At the head, he has a ball joint that has a really good range of motion. It goes all the way around, side to side. It has a very nice nod. It's very noticeable, and it can even tilt very noticeably. You can see he has a quizzical look about him that other figures can't really possess. At the shoulders, they have a swivel that go all the way forward and backward 360 degrees. They go outward all the way for that good, and they can
go even further all the way with the transformation joint if you really want to use it. The biceps swivel, the elbows bend 90 degrees, the waist swivels all the way, though it does get a little tight at certain points. Yeah, that's a pretty tight joint. The legs swivel forward and they go backward all the way, only bumping into the backpack when they go 90 degrees backwards. They can go all the way out for that good taint scrapage. His thighs can swivel all the way around. They're pretty nice. It's like a really smooth joint. It's not loose, but it's real easy. It doesn't fight back, but it can hold itself pretty well, you know? His knees bend 90 degrees, though his thighs are a little too short for them to look really good when they're bent, but that's not really much of an issue. They're good enough, but they could be better, is what I'm trying to say. And finally, at the feet, they have a massive ankle pivot. At this point, he's a tripod being supported by his 2 feet and his balls.
You know, I think CROSSHAIRS gets a little bit of a bad rap. Sure, he's not the most inspired choice for a repaint of Ironhide. He came out of nowhere, and honestly, no one really wanted him to begin with. Sure, his alternate mode doesn't look quite the best, but you know what? All those things don't really matter so much, because once you get this guy in hand, I think you'll see that Siege CROSSHAIRS does his best to come across as completely separated from those first-year elitists Ironhide and Ratchet, and I think he does a good job at succeeding. Now, this doesn't mean that his rating would change when compared to Ironhide and Ratchet, so he's still stuck with the rank of lovely. If you liked this video or otherwise found it informative or helpful, then please leave a like, share, and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. As for my next review, I'll be covering my last repaint for a little while. Well, a set of repaints at least. For kit review number 110, I'll be covering the Transformer Siege Decepticon Phantom Strike Squadron. This has been Kit Katastrophe. Transform and roll out.